Are you stuck thinking about how you can make additional income in today's day and age? Well, today in this video, I'm going to be talking about how you can make multiple streams of income without losing focus. Now, let's go straight to the whiteboard. The first thing I want to talk about is everyone talks about building multiple income streams, but very few explain how to do it without losing your mind. That's the key thing. Diversification isn't about doing everything, it's about designing leverage. And I think that's the most important thing. And actually, before I get into it, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos centered around portfolio careers and independent consulting. Now, of course, if you're somebody who's looking to properly do this, then I've got this Escape the Career Trap, which you can check out for yourself. Okay, so if this is something that you're interested in, then make sure to check it out for yourself. Now, I've highlighted this on the screen because everyone talks about 7 streams of income this, 7 streams of income that, blah, 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 blah. It's probably increased now. It's probably not 7 streams of income. It's probably more, but who knows? Who's doing the measurements? But really, I've always thought to myself, before they got to 7, they probably had 1. They didn't just explode with 7 all of a sudden. And so it makes sense to hone down what your specific core income generating thing is first before you start thinking about anything else. This is not about juggling multiple things. When I talk about the portfolio career, some people are thinking, oh, it's about taking on loads of projects and all that. No. So let's slow down for a second. We can do it a bit slowly, and it's okay to do it slowly. I know the world's on fire, but we can do it a bit slowly. But it's about layering it on. It's about integrating it in. It's about making sure it's harmonized so it makes sense. So when we're thinking about this stuff, we have to think to ourselves, what is the engine of my income first before I start getting to a point where it becomes potentially overwhelming? I know this for myself because I've done this by trial and error. I'm the king of trying to take on so much and trying to do this and that and blah, blah, blah. I can do it myself. Because I knew how to do it, I was like, I should be able to do it myself. That's not the point. Yes, you can learn initially and all that kind of stuff there, but for the purposes of being a great leader and or delegator, when it comes to getting someone else to do it for you, if you have the luxury for that to happen, if you don't have the luxury for that to happen, then take on less stuff. It's that simple. Don't try to take on the world. So you just need to be clear about what poison you're taking. Is it a time thing? Is it an effort thing? Is it a money thing? So all of these things become really important. Now, when thinking about all of this stuff, the first thing is to think about your core engine. Now, I've highlighted here the 9 C's, okay? Well, I haven't highlighted it, but you'll see it here. So what are the 9 C's? For those who don't know, I have this proprietary framework known as the 9 C's, which basically talk to you about the stages of developing your portfolio career. And so here, really, those 9 C's are broken down into context, contract, and cash. And so in a nutshell, the first thing you want to do is to be really clear about who you are as a person first, because that will help you determine how you want to make money. Because the second thing is centered around contract. Everything is a contract in terms of making money, okay? Whether you're freelancing, doing a 9-to-5, doing part-time, doing consulting, doing contracting, it doesn't really matter. But you have to identify what is the thing, what is the main contract that's going to be your hub of stability. So really think about this. For most people, it's going to be their 9-to-5. For me, it's my consultancy. I know it's just me, okay, plus my VA, but it's my consultancy, which is my hub. And so this determines structure, predictability, cash flow, confidence, all of this kind of stuff there. And the final thing is, okay, cool. Once you have that hub, then you want to start thinking about the cash. So what I really mean by this is not only are you going to be tracking your income and your expenses in the form of a P&L, you also want to be in a position where you're making sure that you have savings, okay? You also utilize your cash-free ISA allowance, okay? You also want to make sure that you're investing in stocks and index funds. So you want to be performing pretty well when it comes to this stuff so that when it comes to reinvesting, you can reinvest into, again, business ideas, skill development, tools, systems, professional development. You can do all of this stuff. And that becomes your first stream of income. So it doesn't make sense for you to focus on other stuff if you're not even going to, again, have that stable initial thing. So context, contract, cash, in that order. Really important for you to do that stuff. So whilst we move on, okay, got this elaborate little pathway that I've drawn for myself. The next thing is you want to add adjacent streams of income that complement the core form, okay? And this is where we start thinking about the hub and spoke model and the expert economy stack. What do I mean by this? Well, really, if we have one thing that we are getting our ideation from and our knowledge from and all of this kind of stuff there, we can package it in different ways in order for us to generate income and bring more people in. So there are going to be some things that you just build once and then you forget and it's just about marketing. And there are going to be other things that you have to do consistently, okay? So the first thing to bear in mind is to, again, start with what you already know. Start with what you know. So this may be stuff from your workplace. So here, this is the example of me being a program manager. I can create courses, templates, all of this kind of stuff there. So these two different examples here are things that I create once. I only do it once. Other things that you can create once is a book, okay? So I have a book. So if you don't know, I have 4 books. So if you go onto Amazon and type in Michael Tabirade, you'll see my 4 books. 3 of them are part of a series, Understand, Reach, Expand. And then one of them is a book based on goal setting, whether you're in work or outside of work. So check out those books if you haven't checked them out already. So these are initial things that you can do to test the water, so to speak. Other things that you can do is affiliate marketing, okay? So affiliate marketing is a great way to sell something that you've tried and tested yourself and actually you believe that other people can benefit from. So an example of an affiliate is short form. So I'm an affiliate for short form. Short form is like basically allowing you to consume books very quickly and easily. It had podcasts on there. It has the audio version on there. It has book summaries on there. You can write notes. You can speak to different people. They have plenty of books on there. And just in case you're interested, you can check out short form below so you can check it out for yourself. But affiliates is another way in which you can make money, okay? It takes time to do it, but you can do it. Amazon has their own affiliate sort of thing as well. But there are also things where you're going to have to be quite active with it. So of course, you have to be active at the beginning with some of this stuff. But then there are coaching offers. There are, again, other consulting services, advisory work, facilitation, there's speaking. There's so many things that you can do. So build from your expertise. But you want to sort of like extract this stuff using problem, action, results. So again, you have a way to validate your expertise. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about this stuff too much. Then you want to design adjacency and not create chaos. What do I mean by this? So essentially, you could have consulting, which leads to you developing coaching because you meet the right type of people. And then actually, because you've done a lot of like coaching stuff, you've got a proprietary framework because, you know, a lot of people ask you certain questions. So you put that into a course, but actually more people want your time and all this kind of stuff there. So you develop a community because of the stuff that you've been doing online. And then there's insights that you learn from that enable you to develop some sort of software as a service, whether it's a micro SaaS or standard SaaS, using vibe coding as an example. So again, all of this stuff leans on each other and you start to get all of this stuff where it becomes easier and easier and easier for you to do. So you don't want to compete against stuff. You don't want things that are going to be difficult and consistently training your time. Yes, you know, consulting trades your time, but this started everything. Then this is a bit more freelance by nature because you're not relying on an end client as an example. This you do once and it's done. This will require some sweat equity, but this is where you start to bring people in to help you. You're just providing more impact with this example. And this, again, there's going to be some level of maintenance and management in relation to that as well. So these are some ideas you can think about. And of course, you want to validate some of this stuff. So some ways in which you can validate it is through polls. So polls are a great way to do it. Surveys is another one. So surveys are another way to do it. You also want to check out, you know, lead magnets are another way to sort of like test things. You may want to offer a beta coaching service. So I remember when I got my coaching qualification under the European Mentoring Coaching Council, I remember I asked my trainer, how do you get clients? And so she said to me, what you should do is go onto a platform and basically say you're doing this coaching qualification. This is what you offer. If you're interested, I'm doing this for free. I'm doing 5 free coaching sessions. That's exactly what I did. And I had a lot of inquiries. And actually, I had my 5 free coaching sessions, and then I had an additional 5 coaching paying clients, which was really, really exciting for me at the time. And so this enables you to build the confidence that you need. And so you track recurring questions. You ask people, what do they want? What don't they want? You're focusing on the market. And so you want to engage, test, measure, refine, and scale. This is how you do it. Okay. But you can't overlook the engage and test and measure bit. We like to refine early on. I'm guilty of this. And we think we can scale, but we can't. This and this is really, really important. So don't try to automate or delegate or do all of this stuff. If none of this stuff has been tested, it makes perfect sense to make sure that you test it. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. And the final thing is you want to get to a stage where you can actually systemize and scale this stuff, but only when you have done that stuff before. I'll give you an example. When I did my 90-day YouTube challenge, I posted every day for 90 days. That taught me a lot. I understood what people liked, what people didn't like. I understood what thumbnails work better compared to others. And of course, before that, I was asking a lot of people different questions in relation to what do they want to hear? What do they want to see? What are their problems? What have they tried before? Etc., etc. And so that has now allowed me to create a rhythm that makes sense. And so you can use things such as, again, Calendly, Notion, all of these different things to help you automate repetitive tasks. You want to make sure that you write down all of the different things that you do so that there are SOPs and other people can follow this stuff so that, you watch them, you help them improve, and then they can take it on, and then they can help other people take it on if you start to build a team. So the first thing is you do it yourself, then you write out exactly what you do, and you record it as well. Then you get someone else to see if they can do the same thing. And then you basically measure them based on success criteria from those things that you've done. And that's how you ensure that you're moving away from being the doer to being more of a manager / leader, or whatever it may be. You also create templates and different things that people can reuse, whether it's you or other people, so that it becomes easier. This is about systemizing it. The amount of systems I have, I'm a program manager, so the systems make sense for me. Governance, control gateways, escalation to myself, however you want to call it, templates. This is all important. If you do have the funds, you want to delegate to a VA. And now sometimes you may be thinking, I can't afford someone full-time. They don't have to be full-time. Okay. They can be part-time. Okay. They can also be somebody who is project-based. So they do specific things. They can even be 5 hours a week. And that will cost you 150 odd pounds. Now, don't get me wrong. Not everyone can afford that. So if you're not at that stage yet, don't try to take on too much. Just think about what you can do. And I think what's important in relation to this is that you have to define what your objectives are, which are basically a number of aims, okay, that can be smart. Just make sure they're specific and measurable. And you have key results. So these key results are essentially things that you need to produce aligned to the objectives, which will be strategic by nature. So an example objective could be streamline admin workload. A key result could be reduce personal admin time by 50%. 50% within 6 weeks. What's important about this? Well, this is the specificity of it. This is the measure, and this is within a certain time frame. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And then finally, what we want to do is batch things. So as I'm doing this YouTube video right now, this is the 4th video I've done in this series, and you would see he's wearing the same t-shirt, So it's important to batch where you can, because it means that you can plan and think in between and all that kind of stuff there. If you've automated or delegated, or if you haven't, it just means that you've spent the whole day to do what you're doing. and then you can move on to something else. Okay. And so here's an example. Okay. So maybe Mondays in this example, it's strategy and goal setting. Okay. For the week. Maybe Wednesdays it's filming and writing, and maybe Fridays it's reflection and admin. It will not be this perfect, I promise you, but it's an opportunity and it's a way for you to think about things. So what is the take-home message here? Real diversification happens when your time multiplies and doesn't divide. Freedom isn't about juggling more. It's about building systems that compound what you're already doing well. That's what it's about at the end of the day. Of course, if you want to get into this whole space, make sure to check out my guide called the Escape the Career Trap Guide. So if this is something you're interested in, make sure to check it out for yourself. If you want to see more videos centered around portfolio careers, independent consulting, and contracting, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.